Dear delegates, friends, ladies and gentlemen, this is just to alert you to the imminent start of our evening's program. We hope to be able to welcome our chief guest and other dignitaries very shortly. With that in view, we would like to suggest that everyone moves to their selected places and are comfortably seated. And while I have your attention, it might also be appropriate to suggest that your mobile devices, if they are switched on, might now be rendered silent or even switched off. So we'll leave that choice with you. So now might be the time to do that as well, even as you take your places in anticipation of the start of our evening's program. Thank you. Thank you very much.
wait on their affirmation. You can't wait on their approval. You can't wait on their support. Sometimes you just got to run and look behind you and say, everybody who wants to run, run, but I can't stop running because you're not running with me. Listen to me, hear me. You can't stop chasing your dream just because somebody in your life won't chase it with you. You can't stop believing in yourself just because somebody in your life won't believe in you. You can't stop chasing the dreams of your life just because when you know when you do it, you're going to have to do it all by yourself.
Greetings and welcome to this inaugural of the 40th National Conference of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. And as you are able to hear, this is the moment when we usher our chief guest for this evening, the President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, Ms. Fiona Wilkinson. And with her will be our keynote speaker, Dr. Hans Vijay Surya, Chairman, Ceylon Chamber of Commerce and CEO of the South Asia Region and Corporate Executive Vice President of the Asiata Group, Berhad. And the officers of ICASL, Mr. Jagat Pereira, the President, Vice President Manil Jayasinghe. We have the presence and the participation of the Secretary to the Ministry of Posts and Muslim Religious Affairs, Ms. S.M. Mohammed, the Postmaster General, Mr. Ranjit Ariratna, Mr. Rajita Ranasinghe, the Deputy Postmaster General Operations, W.K.S. Sisirakumara, the Deputy Postmaster General, Western Province, South, the Director of the Philatelic Bureau, Shantakumara Migama, Mr. Dulit Pereira, who is the Chairman of the National Conference Committee for this year, and Chairman National Conference Technical Committee Chairman, Mr. Moiz Rehmanji, Mr. Shiran Vijay Singh, the alternate Chairman, Mr. Nishta Sulaiman, alternate Chairman, National Conference Technical Committee, and Dulani Fernando, the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, and the Secretary to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, Mr. Prasanna Lianage. So all of those named will be cordially invited to draw up alongside the ceremonial oil lamp, which is by the stage. And once they come up there, proceed with the lighting thereof. So those dignitaries who we've just welcomed are cordially invited now to proceed with our ceremonial lighting of the oil lamp. So may we invite you to draw up alongside and proceed with the lighting of that lamp. With the lamp duly illumined, we shall now proceed with another aspect of our inaugural ceremonial, and that's the national anthem of Sri Lanka.
Suri
Greetings and welcome. This is a very heavy event, as the saying might have it. It's a twofer. The 60th anniversary of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, and coupled with that, the 40th such annual conference. So, it's a confluence, and this one has a special theme or term that has been attached with it. Finding your mojo. Have you lost your mojo? Well, we didn't think so, but the idea is to find it, rediscover it. And in this passage of time, 60 years, this institute has served the community of Lankans. And the vicissitudes that have affected life and people and things in Sri Lanka are known. And through all of that, the turbulence and the vileness that has assaulted industry, commerce, trade, this, that, and the other, there has been this determination on the part of the professionals to maintain an even keel and be able to deliver what is expected and maintain that trust. And all of those things come in. So the idea of this theme, the mojo, is that there is something inward, something within that is able to survive and is able to optimize on whatever negative situations there are and be able to come up on top. And not merely survive, but to be able to contribute with vitality, with purpose, and, shall we say, a noble objective is to be achieved ultimately. So all of that is encompassed in this idea of mojo. And it has a kind of a slang idea, which also has a kind of a little sassy feel to it. So whether you like the sazz or don't know what sazz is, it doesn't matter. The idea is you can discover it. And that's what this event is about. And today, and certainly in the days ahead, that's what the focus will be. And that's what we are very happy to welcome you to. So we'll invite your attention now on screen as we have an audio-visual presentation.
Knowledge is power. It is the single most important commodity that drives progress. And this is why we at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka have for almost 40 years organized a national conference. Its dynamism and thought-provoking approach has made it an iconic event in the local business calendar, featuring skills development and knowledge dissemination, influencing the positive transformations of industries. From the inaugural conference in 1979, our flagship event has for over 3 decades brought together business leaders and high-profile professionals from across industries to build our economy into a sustainable, fair and flourishing one. It is our nation's most sought-after business conference, paving the way for important decisions for accelerating growth. At the center of our vision is knowledge creation. We believe that information is the single most important driver of development in the 21st century. As such, we hope to build critical bridges between people and information to bring about significant advancements within organizations. From this conference, we hope to create organizations unafraid to harness the powers of change, collective application and goal-oriented strategies to thrive in these times of rapid change. With that in mind, this year our goal is to galvanize businesses by harnessing the power of the individual. In other words, 2019 is all about finding mojo. What we call mojo is the internal magic that translates to external success. It is the passion, focus and drive inherent in all of us, setting us on a path to achieving our goals no matter the circumstance. Mojo adds value to us, our companies, and to the country as a whole. We aim to help you find that spark of magic to be the best you can be. So, let's find our magic at this, the 40th anniversary of the National Conference of Chartered Accountants.
There you had it. The rationale, the raison d'etre, and the idea, the funk that goes with this conference. The word magic was repeatedly used. And now, we'd like to invite Mr. Dulita Pereira in his capacity as chairman of the National Conference Committee for 2019 to please come up to the lectern for some introductory remarks and words of welcome. Dulita, please.
Our chief guest this evening, Ms. Fiona Wilkinson, President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales. Keynote speaker, Dr. Hans Vijayasuriya, Chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce and Chief Executive Officer, South Asia Region, and Corporate Executive Vice President of Asiata Group. Secretary to the Ministry of Postal Services and Muslim Religious Affairs, Ms. S.M. Mohammed. President of CS Sri Lanka, Jagat Pereira. Vice President, CS Sri Lanka, Manil Jayasinghe, and members of the Council. Alternate Chair of the National Conference Committee, Chiran Vijayasinghe, and members of the committee. Chairman of the Technical Committee, Mr. Moiz Rahmanji, and members of the Technical Committee, past presidents, distinguished invitees, representatives of sponsors, dear members, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to all of you, and a warm welcome to all of you for the 40th National Conference of the Chartered Accountants, which will revolve around the unconventional theme of finding your mojo. As the chairman of the 2019 National Conference Committee, it is a privilege and an honor to welcome each and every one of you to this inauguration of the National Conference and share my thoughts on this landmark occasion when the National Conference is celebrating 40th anniversary this year. The National Conference, which boasts of a 4-decade-long history, was witnessed a mega transformation over the years, originating as a conference which attracted several hundreds to become Sri Lanka's most inspiring business summit that surpasses over 2,000 participants and has become an important annual business summit. This is not a small thing, and we will truly fail in our duty if we do not recognize the efforts of Professor Lakshman R. Vatavala, who was here in the audience, for taking the initiative to launch the concept of National Conference of CS Sri Lanka way back in 1979. I request all of you to join me in giving him a round of applause for this initiative. I also believe it is important to recognize all our past presidents and successive councils who gave the leadership to this important concept to help drive it forward and bring it to this influential standing. So on behalf of the incumbent National Conference Committee, I take this opportunity to convey my deepest gratitude to all past presidents and councils since 1979 for their leadership, vision, and persistence in driving forward this conference. We are celebrating the 40th anniversary of the National Conference, while our institute is celebrating its Diamond Jubilee. We have made arrangements to launch a special commemorative first day stamp cover today to mark the Diamond Jubilee of Sri Lanka and the 40th anniversary of the National Conference of Chartered Accountants. The National Conference, no doubt, has become a platform which transforms, motivates, as well as our country. Many of you are aware that Sri Lanka is going through challenging times, and since 70 years of independence, we have been challenged with rising unemployment and various other social and business issues. We have a long way to go to identify our nation as a holistically developed one. Therefore, I don't have to underscore the important role that the chartered accountants can play in helping build our nation. We have to update ourselves with rapid changes taking place, resulting from innovative digital and technological changes and new solutions that are there in the marketplace, their impact on the business environment. We must be fully equipped and to be in the forefront to drive businesses and our country forward. We need to embrace these changes and do what we are supposed to do. I'm sure this conference would provide you the impetus. Chartered accountants are driven by values. Amongst those values are the honesty, integrity, ethical conduct are the core, to name a few. Today, our members have transcended their professional expectations, and from traditional scope that they have covered, they have moved on to sit across boardrooms, lead companies in the senior management positions, and drive them. They are the drivers of businesses across every industry, and as the institute, which produces these versatile professionals, Sri Lanka has been at the forefront in remaining as a contemporary institute, and in our efforts to ensure our members continue to break barriers by helping them embrace disruption and innovation to be better at what they do. With the increased pressure placed on the professional community, sometimes it is important to give all that boost to help them rediscover their inner spark, their passion, mojo, to help them ensure fulfilling professional life. Therefore, I'm certain that the 40th National Conference of the Chartered Accountants, revolving around the theme Mojo, will be an important platform to help participants, including the business leaders and C-suite executives, to rediscover their passion and purpose and be a driving force across corporates in our country and for themselves. Before I conclude, I take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest this evening, Fiona, President of ICAW, our keynote speaker, Dr. Hans, as well as all distinguished invitees and delegates for your presence here. I hope the 40th National Conference will be a platform for all of us to revive our mojo, to help us better, not just for our personal achievements, but also that of the organizations we serve and our country. Thank you, and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you too, Mr. Dulitha Pereira, which now paves the way for an address by the incumbent president of
the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Mr. Jagat Pereira.
Mr. Manil Jayasinghe, Vice President. Ms. Fiona Wilkinson, Chief Guest and the President, ICAEW. Dr. Hans Vijayasuriya, Keynote Speaker. Ms. S.M. Mohammed, Secretary to the Ministry of Postal and Religious Affairs. Past Presidents, Members of Council, distinguished invitees, members, chairman and alternate chairs of National Conference and Technical Committees, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is pleasure for me to address you at the 40th National Conference inauguration session. Mr. Dulitha Pereira explained you about the history and the background of the conference. This is not only the 40th anniversary of our conference, this is the Diamond Jubilee of CA Sri Lanka. To commemorate this event, we are releasing a special stamp cover for the public. The theme of the conference is Finding the Mojo. I am sure in the next 48 hours, we will go through all what we can to achieve this task. At this moment, I thought we will touch upon some of the challenges that we have as accounting profession and the response that CA Sri Lanka has made in the recent past. The biggest challenge that we have is the digital technological disruption. It replaces the traditional approaches that we have in the accounting profession. Also, create boundless digital natives, and we need to work around to be sustainable in this accounting profession. So that is the biggest challenge that we have it. The second important challenge is the new regulations that are coming around. Disclosure requirements in financial and non-financial areas are increasing every year. Laws and regulations in relation to tax avoidance, transfer pricing, money laundering, bribery and corruption, and ethics are increasing. That is another important area the accounting profession should be careful. If we do not update, understand, practice some of those requirements individually as a profession, we are liable for some of those violations. So that is the second important challenge that we have, and we need to be careful. Thirdly, the globalization. With the globalization, there are two ways of challenges. One side, the financial reporting is globalized, and we need to be mindful of what we work within the financial reporting. There is free movement of capital from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction. Therefore, every aspect of our work is globally important. On the other side, global outsourcing has changed the landscape. US, Europe, UK, Australia is substituting some of the tasks in India and China. So this is another challenge that we need to be mindful. With this transfer of skills, the employment opportunities are changing from different jurisdictions. As professionals, we must engage in this transformation and embrace the technology. That will be the future of every one of us. CA Sri Lanka should collaborate with other professional accounting organizations in order to increase the relevance in our professional developments. Learning and development is very important in this process. The firms and the industry should be brought into one level, and we need to work together as one profession. This will encourage the research and development and also develop thought leaderships materials for our membership. To bridge this technological gap, we need to be using A, B, C, D, and E. A for artificial intelligence, B for blockchain, C for cloud computing, D for data and analytics, and E for ethics. I always, when I meet my members, use one theme, and I will repeat at this 40th National Conference. This is the time for us to learn, unlearn, and relearn. This is very important in this revolutionary changes happening around us. CA Sri Lanka has taken several initiatives and actions in order to respond to some of these challenges in the recent past. Communication skills are very important. We had introduced at the beginning of 2018 on business report writing skills, speechcraft, and 3-day residential program on leadership and soft skills to our students. Under the curriculum 2020, we have brought that into the curriculum so that every student is going through this process. E-learning support is added on to the new curriculum so that the students will get more access to the knowledge base. Online IT platforms are being developed and in progressing at the moment. Emphasis on English language is being identified as an important item in our curriculum. We will make sure, without depriving underprivileged students, to ensure everyone will be at the same level playing field. Technofair in May 2019 was introduced by bringing all technological developments around the world into one roof to introduce our members the new development, what is happening around us. In addition to that, we have gone into MOU with CA Australia and New Zealand. With minimum work, the members should be able to obtain the membership. In addition, CPA Ireland, we have gone into a mutual recognition agreement whereby our members should be able to obtain the membership. Future ready board members were identified for the female members to move forward. We have enhanced our MOU with ICAEW and working towards to obtain dual qualification for our members. E-library is introduced for the members and students to access from the places where they are without coming to the library. Chapters are introduced in Australia and Saudi Arabia, and the few others are in progress. This year beginning, we designated 100 million rupees, and the return on investment will be taken to the development of technology in data analytics and forensics technology. Similarly, another 60 million is allocated and return will be used for talent scholarships. And 15 million is allocated and the returns will be used for scholarship for the children of members of staff at CA Sri Lanka. Future Ready CA Orator and CA Leaders programs are introduced at school level so that the students will be fully aware of accountancy at their schools. We are working strongly and very closely with AAT Sri Lanka and CMA to make sure we work as one profession. Graduate entry program is identified under the new curriculum, and the BSc Applied Accountancy degree will be available very soon for all our students and the members with minimum adjustments. Presently, we are working on a business incubator to groom our inspiring members as entrepreneurs. Project is in progress, and by next month or two it will be announced. Similarly, we have already gone into the technology to create blogs to the members to network faster based on their industries and the functions. With all these, what we are trying to see how we could respond to the challenges. There may be forces out of our control. We need to find ways and method of working together and make sure we are successful and our members are relevant in this whole episode. I'm sure at this conference all of you will be able to go through this process to identify your mojo and how you could bring the external success for our profession, and as final ultimate goal as development of Sri Lanka. Before I conclude, I thought I will tell a message that I received in the morning from one of my friends. Road has speed limits, bank has credit limits, exams has time limits. Thinking has no limit. Think big, achieve big. Enjoy the rest of the time, and I'm sure you will appreciate about the conference. Thank you very much.
That was a pithy phrase or two to keep in mind in conclusion. Thank you very much, and also for a sober analysis, but with it, an encouragement to remain relevant, and the assistance being provided or the support being provided by the organization was also outlined. Which now leads us to the sounding of the keynote. And our speaker is one who is an engineer. He's an alumnus of the University of Cambridge, and he read for his PhD in digital mobile communications at the University of Bristol, also in the United Kingdom. And he's a chartered engineer, but also has an MBA from the University of Warwick. And of course, interestingly, Dr. Vijay Surya has been recognized with an award, the first recipient of the Outstanding Contribution to the Asian Mobile Industry, which award or recognition was bestowed upon him by the Global Mobile Industry Body. That's the controlling body which is known by the initials GSMA. And Dr. Hans Vijayasuriya has, as you know, served quite a while with Dialogue Asiata, and in fact, interestingly, also was the executive vice president, has served as the executive vice president of the Asiata Group, and also was he's also the regional chief executive for the South Asian region for the same Asiata Group. And also relevant to our event here today, he's also serving as the chairman of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. And he's also manifested considerable prowess as a violinist, but today he will be speaking. Dr. Hans Vijayasuriya.
Chief guest, Ms. Fiona Wilkinson, the President of ICAEW, Secretary to the Ministry of Postal Services and Muslim Religious Affairs, Ms. S.M. Mohammed, President of Sri Lanka, Mr. Jagat Pereira, Vice President, Mr. Manil Jayasinghe, and members of the Council, Chair, Mr. Dulit Pereira, and alternate Chair, Mr. Chiran Vijayasinghe of the National Conference Committee and members of the committee, Chairman of the Technical Conference Committee, Mr. Moise Remanji, and members of the committee, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen, Aiboan, and a very good evening. It's indeed an honor and privilege to have been invited here today as the keynote speaker on the occasion of the 40th National Conference of the Institute of Chartered Accountants. It's an honor and privilege for many reasons. First, that this august institution, which celebrates its 60th anniversary this year, has been the foundation of corporate governance, corporate management, and has produced some of the greatest business leaders of this country over the years. Second, it also gives me great pride, or personal pride, may I say, to be here today because my own father was the Auditor General of Sri Lanka and a council member during the period 1970 to 1983. So I grew up admiring, respecting, and being continuously taught by this great profession. Following my father's advice, I didn't become an accountant, but became an engineer instead. So here we are today, an engineer and a room full of chartered accountants trying to find our mojo. What are the odds that we can do that? Well, let's try. If not, we will rely on the cocktails at the end of the evening to bring out that mojo. Over the next few days, I see a galaxy of speakers far more competent than myself to speak about finding and propagating mojo. And indeed, I must congratulate Moise and his committee for having brought to the fore this very interesting and soul-searching topic. In fact, over the last few days when I was reflecting on my capability or otherwise to address you on this topic, it taught me a lot. It brought out questions in my mind as to whether, as a person who has led teams, led organizations, whether I have done enough to generate mojo in all those whom I work with. And I believe this is what we need to do. to generate moments of overwhelming joy in everybody we interact with. We have our peers, we have our superiors, we have our teams, and looking beyond every single person. Today, driving from Colombo through the traffic, starting with my chauffeur who got me here on time, the security guard who patted me down very politely, everyone who greeted me, the steward who offered me a drink. These are all people who deserve moments of overwhelming joy. And I think as leaders, and I believe all of us here are leaders in our own right. We may lead large organizations, we may lead small teams, we may lead families, but at the end of the day, our mission should be to create these moments of joy. And through the reflection that I went through over the last few days, I certainly felt humbled. I certainly felt inadequate in terms of what I personally have done to create Mojo. And I think that's a reflection we can all go through from time to time. So what is the leader's calling? More about igniting Mojo in the others, I believe, and less about reflecting on our own Mojo. Because we are truly at the top of the pyramid, whether it be the socioeconomic pyramid or the pyramid of professional and academic achievement. We are at the top. We are those who have been privileged. And there are millions and millions of people who have not been as privileged as us. And today, while we try to find our Mojo, I believe that the calling of the leader is to think even more about the Mojo of others. So our mission as leaders, if we are to deliver effective leadership to our organizations, should follow the belief that a core function of effective leadership is cultivating Mojo. And I strongly believe that this is a foundation of sustainable and high-performing organizations. Those organizations which are vibrant, which echo the Mojo, the excitement, the passion of every single employee, with strong sense of purpose, will be those organizations that are sustainable and are highly effective. In fact, I believe that level 5 leaders find their own Mojo from igniting the Mojo in others. And this solves the equation that while we are assigned the task of building Mojo for everyone who works with us, if we make that our own Mojo, and we find that creating Mojo in others, in fact, ignites Mojo in ourselves, then we have an organization which propels forward with motivation and positive energy. Because in fact, like I said, since we are all leaders in our own right, and we would have leaders above us, and we will have leaders below us. And if everyone just worries about creating Mojo, creating passion, creating excitement, giving that spark of magic and innovation to everyone in their team, and their boss does likewise, then we will have an organizational structure which is built on motivation and forward propulsion. So what is Mojo? And what is this Mojo that we need to ignite? Very simply, I believe that people are mobilized, people are motivated, people stand up and say, I'm excited when they see opportunity. And this opportunity gives them hope, aspiration, and the determination to achieve. And as leaders of businesses, wherever in the business we are, if we can create those opportunities, if we can open those doors and trigger that sense of excitement and desire to achieve in every single member of our organizations, then we have organizations which are infused top to bottom with Mojo. Once ignited, Mojo needs to be sustained. And I believe that Mojo will be sustained if our people see purpose in what they are doing. If the most menial of tasks has meaning And as leaders, if we give the most menial of tasks in our organizations, in our ecosystems, in our society, we give it meaning and gratitude, then everyone would have purpose. No one would feel that the job they are doing is useless. And how many times, ladies and gentlemen, have we acknowledged those who carry out those menial tasks, routine tasks, standard tasks, day in, day out? I believe we are all guilty. I certainly am very guilty of not taking that extra minute to say thank you, to say you have done a wonderful job. That if you had not done this job, my day would not have been as good as it has turned out to be. Give that purpose, give that appreciation and gratitude for the smallest of tasks. Because we certainly look for that from our superiors. And at the top of the pyramid, we would complain if at the board meeting your hard work is not acknowledged. But at the same time, do we realize or do we acknowledge that we have not acknowledged the doorman who has kept the door open for us when we went into that boardroom? So these are, I think, some fundamentals that we need to acknowledge, we need to learn, and we need to embed in the culture and the DNA of our organizations. Moving on to professionals such as ourselves, what are we most proud of? We are proud of our competence. We want to use everything we know. We want to use the tools we know to use. And we want to be acknowledged for having used our competence. We like to be told, you know your job, or you did a very good job. And we want pride in work. Let's make sure that we share this with everyone around us. So far, I have spoken about the internality of what I would call a leadership challenge. And everyone here, whether at the end of their careers or post-career or at the beginning of their careers, would face both challenges. The internality, which is in fact about being accountable to your boss or your superior, which is a one-dimensional challenge. You just have to deliver. It's uncompromising, there are no excuses, and if you are the professional that you like to be, you will deliver in a single-dimensioned commitment to performance. But to your team, you need to be responsible. And this, I believe, is a difference between accountability and responsibility. Accountability is single dimension, black and white. You have to deliver your results. Responsibility is about caring. Responsibility is about giving that purpose, that motivation, and that compassion to everybody who works with you. And if we were to replicate this model up and down our organizations, where every leader, every manager is responsible for his or her team and accountable to his or her boss, then we can replicate this unit throughout the organization, and you will have both a high-achieving organization and a caring organization full of optimism, of compassion, of motivation, and of mojo. But as we go up the organization and to the upper echelons of leadership, I believe that the externality becomes more important. It becomes more of a challenge to manage the world outside than to manage the inside. And the quotient of externality management increases as you go up the organizational pyramid. I believe that the CEO is, in fact, the certainty enabling officer of an organization, not the chief entertainment officer or the chief energy officer or the chief enthusiasm officer. Because indeed, it is a CEO who needs to ultimately convert that dark cloud of the external environment into the precise and well-defined certainty which he or she presents to his or her teams. And this externality, ladies and gentlemen, if solved by leaders, if the leaders are capable of converting this externality of uncertainty into certainty, it provides a fertile environment for mojo to flourish. because then and only then can every member of the organization have the confidence, freedom, and innovative energy to move forward with Mojo. So if we were to ignite Mojo through what we would call exponential times, and your president just outlined the fact that technology transformation, the waves of change, are going to be the single most difficult challenge, or I would say greatest opportunity before us in the years ahead. And it's these times of change that we call exponential times, because the rate of change is not linear, it is exponential. And some of the externalities that we as leaders have to face, externalities which are diverse, which are aggressive, which may seem challenging and pervading in their truest sense, would include technology and the Industrial Revolution 4.0, the evolving consumer around us and the evolving markets around us, the economy and the nation, just to name a few. And I believe it's these three that probably occupy our minds the most. But there are many others in terms of those threatening, challenging, aggressive externalities which we need to decipher and contain and bring down into defined problems for our teams to solve. So moving on to the first of these externalities of the Industrial Revolution 4.0, which I believe can redefine the power of human beings. I take this positively because some may say that it would overpower the human being. But I believe that used correctly, used astutely, the IR 4.0 will increase the power of human beings. Some of these technologies are the Internet of Things, or the sensors which will be embedded everywhere across our ecosystem. Artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, 5G, and of course, cloud computing. And in this world, if you were to set out to find your mojo, I think we need to realize that somebody has already found our mojo. Because the digital environment has and will constantly align to the true north of individuals. Everything you do today in the digital world has been logged with a digital footprint. So meet your digital twin, who is powered by artificial intelligence and behavioral analytics. The IR4 technologies of today would have built, even today, and more so tomorrow, would have built your digital twin. Your digital twin knows exactly how you would react to a vast number of situations. The digital twin would know what your tastes and preferences are. The digital twin would know what you do when you're completely alone in the digital world. The digital twin will know what movies you like to watch, which books you like to read, and which jokes you forward to your friends, etc., etc. And this digital twin might perversely know more about you than yourself. Therefore, in this IR4 world, or a 4.0 world, we have to hope that while many aspects of what we assume to be the domain of humanity will be passed on to technology, that in parallel, the fundamental driver of change and disruption is a transition to a globalized and connected view of people, machines, information, knowledge, and organizations. In other words, that those islands of competence and those islands of knowledge would now become connected and shared, and therefore that we would approximate asymptotically to a more equal world. And that is a nice feeling to have at the end of this great revolution which is before us. These exponential times will therefore continuously challenge the relevance of people and their competence. And it kind of undoes what I spoke about at the beginning of this presentation, that people need purpose. But what if the work that they're doing is now taken over by machines? The IR4 will redefine the purpose and mojo of people. And it's up to us as leaders who understand this revolution and evolution, who understand what's going on around us and the changes that are being brought upon us, to reinvent work and the purpose of our people. Because if we leave that too late, we will find that we would have got the equation around the DNA of our organizations very wrong. This DNA will need to change continuously at a faster and faster rate. And the DNA is about your mix of human beings and machines. And which tasks will be done by human beings and which tasks will be done by machines. And how fast can you transition these tasks between humans and machines? Because if we don't perfect this and enable our people to have purpose and continuing excitement and value for the work that they do, on the backdrop of these exponential times, we would have let work be destroyed, purpose be destroyed by the evolving technology revolutions. So reinventing work and its purpose would involve automation and mechanization through IR4, leading to what I would call Work 4.0, and therefore a Workforce 4.0, a team that is capable of making the most of Industrial Revolution 4.0 while having the motivation and the mojo and the value for what they are doing. And here we need to call upon government to bring in the required reforms, bring in the required impetus for skills re-engineering, and also the required impetus for worker welfare, which would provide that cushion of assurance while people reinvent themselves towards Industry Revolution 4.0. And of course, mojo at work, the Google offices, lots of coffee and donuts, agile workplaces and agile ways of work, which are all before us. And the challenge to us would be not to restrict these agile ways of working and the concepts of Workplace 4.0 to the top of the pyramid, but to find a way to translate these phenomena throughout the workforce of our organizations. Next, we move on to the consumer. And it is indeed a challenge in this 4.0 world to read the mojo of our consumer. Why do we need to read the mojo of our consumer? If we do not know what excites our consumer, what is the magic which motivates our consumer, we in our organizations will become irrelevant. So while the digital world, in particular digitization and IR 4.0, digital lifestyles, disruption, social networks will influence and continue to prove to be an evolving influence on the consumer, the consumers themselves will go through a metamorphism in terms of the priorities that they embed in their value systems. They might move from brand loyalty to being insistent on ethically produced products, just for example. They might be more influenced by packaging and bundling. They might be more influenced by the convenience of consumption, of circular economies. They might be influenced by the source and origin of goods. And of course, they would be influenced by price. So aligning product, channel, and communication with consumer motivation is going to be a very dynamic challenge, unlike in the past. So businesses find their mojo, I believe, when they are strongly aligned to these customer value expectations. And I have found it imperative and extraordinarily valuable to continuously ask myself this question and to ask the entire organization this question all the time, if not annually, every 6 months or every quarter. What business are we in? Because if you get your business definition right and you keep changing this business definition, you provide mojo. Your business, the walls, the building, the people are the same, but the definition of your business is changing. You don't need to create something new. It's not a new product. It's a new way of looking at how your consumer sees your business. And over the years, the igniting or death of business mojo has been studied by some of these great big names. Starting with Kodak, the famous example. Kodak did not realize, I believe, that the experience that they were selling to their customer was not a film roll, but the ability to flick through a photo album and enjoy memories. When there was another device that came on the scene which could provide that same experience of flipping through and recollecting memories, a tablet, consumers moved and Kodak was left to bankruptcy. Now, if Kodak had understood this mojo of the consumer, I believe that Kodak could have been the first producer of a tablet. Nokia and BlackBerry simply ignored the fact that consumers wanted to use apps from an app store and that Android and Apple operating systems were going to dominate the world. Domino's, there's a success story, propelled their share price by 20 times, simply by redefining their business from being a pizza company to being a technology company. They converted every single process from brick and mortar to digital. They stopped opening stores and they increased their availability to a nationwide footprint while having the cleverest of apps, ordering mechanisms, logistics, drones delivering pizzas, etc. Amazon transformed every cost center into a profit center. Amazon built its data centers to support e-commerce, and that was the birth of AWS, one of the largest cloud providers in the world. Likewise, they understood, ahead of their incumbent competition, that the consumer's mojo in reading printed material was changing, and that they would like to do that on a tablet. So was born the Kindle. So was born Amazon, e-commerce and bookstores. Today, Amazon has come all the way back to open its own physical bookstores, just to add on that final bit of experience to their digital product. Microsoft, again, read the enterprise consumer's mojo of moving to the cloud. Late, but not too late, today the most valuable company on this earth. And Parker, last but not least, the story which has inspired me from the day I did my MBA, where Parker, through its toughest of times, realized that it was not in the business of making pens, but in the business of making gifts. And that the mojo of their consumer was to buy Parker as a gift. So if we were to continuously disturb our certainty, and this goes against my earlier proposition that we should provide certainty to our people. Yes, we should. But at the same time, I think we need to encourage our people, and as leaders, we need to encourage ourselves to move from comfort to restlessness, from good to great, and from excellent to exceptional. And that challenging your certainty incessantly, all the time, being restless, trying to open new doors, will give us the mojo as well as prevent our businesses becoming archaic and irrelevant in the face of the changing world. We talk about growth, and many complain of slow economic growth, and we wait rather than drive. And this is an externality that we need to take into our own hands. there's no denying that business growth comes from economic growth, but equally, business growth will drive economic growth. And as business leaders, wherever we are in our organizations, I believe that we need to be committed not to wait for economic growth to come to us, but to create that growth ahead. In Sri Lanka today, we face the middle income trap, a growth inertia which keeps us in the 3 to 5% GDP growth range. Also, we are today the third slowest growing economy in South Asia. And by the end of this year, we may even be the second slowest growing nation. But that is a challenge that we should take with positivity as opposed to despondence, with energy as opposed to inertia, with a sense of taking greater risks instead of being dormant, and with empathy for all around us, businesses large and small, and government itself, versus the sense of apathy which takes us nowhere. And indeed, as positivity engenders passion in others around us, we as business leaders, I believe, can ignite and spread a nation's mojo. If we are positive, if we take the challenges before us with a positive mindset and a determination, that will pervade to our home and our organizations, and from there on to our nation and society at large. And if we are to truly elevate the mojo of our nation, then we need to address this problem of disparity and asymmetry. Because while we at the top of the pyramid would account for a significantly large proportion of income and wealth in this country, the majority of our population has to share the minority and the rest. Now, this is not a sustainable equation, and it certainly will not enable mojo to be created at the level of a nation. Because as I said earlier, mojo is about opportunity. Mojo is about hope. Mojo is about aspiration. Mojo is about seeing that light at the end of the tunnel in your life, which enables you to do better tomorrow, the day after. And if we give that opportunity to every citizen in this country, and we certainly have the power, being at the top of our economy in the private sector, if we can give every citizen in this country that power to better themselves, grow themselves, learn more, earn more, and grow the economy within their homes, then I think we would have a nation which is full of happier people, people with mojo. And that brings me to the mojo of inclusion, making the opportunity to participate in the great future we see before us available and affordable to as many as possible. Let us not keep what we have at the top of the pyramid to ourselves, but use our skills, use our mojo, use the technology and the revolution of IR 4.0 before us to enable our entire population to participate in the economy of the future. And this, ladies and gentlemen, could be called a form of socialism, novo socialism, or what I would call a nutana samasamaja. But a more palatable term might be inclusive capitalism. Either way, it means that every step we take with courage, we take with a sense of growing, of improving, of expanding, but we commit ourselves to carry the nation along with us. So in this developing world, if we want to be sustainable in leadership, if we want to establish sustainable mojo, sustainable excitement, then I believe that we should align to the purpose of bridging this divide. First, we must accept the fact that there is a divide. It's easy to ignore it. And then we must make the business of creating a more equal world our business, and thereby spawn a socio-cultural thrust to bridge the socio-economic divide in our nation. And that also brings out in us the ability to derive mojo from contributing positively to the lives of others. And I know many of us who are in the service industry do enjoy every single moment of mojo when we make a customer happy. Making a customer happy is compassion with passion. Likewise, can we make every business in this country happy across all provinces of this country? And can we translate that to our own personal mojo? And can we truly believe that this aligns with our inner compass and aligns our life's journey with this true north of creating opportunity, excitement, and mojo for 20 million people? Aligning our own compass is not about individualistic mojo. And indeed, I believe that in the pursuit of mojo, in the pursuit of happiness, in the pursuit of excitement, it is tempting to ignore everybody else. But I do not believe this is sustainable, because we live in an era of the collective, defined by connected people, connected organizations, a connected world. Collaboration, power of ecosystems, networks of influence, and as I said, connected everything dominates the fabric of interpersonal and interorganizational interactions and ecosystems. So we must truly be careful of not being individually brilliant, but collectively destructive. And that, I believe, leads to the importance of teamwork. Celebrate diversity. Surround yourselves with people very different to yourself. Surround yourselves with people who can add excitement to your life through the very root of diversity and difference. Difference in culture, difference in belief, difference in capabilities. And throughout my career, I have marveled at the game of rugby, where you have a very diverse set of 15 individuals who have very diverse skills, but they all coalesce. And each of their true north adds constructively towards the true north of winning the game. And if a rugby team comprised of 15 identical people, of identical shape and size and identical speed and stamina, you would not have the successful rugby team that is required to win and be sustainable. I cannot help repeating the importance of the positivity that teamwork can also engender in us. Negativity and fear are truly the thieves of mojo. So I think we must all look inside ourselves, and every time we have a negative thought, that's the first task to do, eliminate it in order for mojo to appear. Let's also look back with gratitude and appreciation, because all of us have been given an opportunity somewhere down the line. And that is when you first found your mojo. From time to time, we forget our mojo. It gets rusty. We look for a new opportunity. And every time we do have mojo and we are excited, we must acknowledge that somebody somewhere has given you an opportunity. Someone has placed trust in you to do your best. Someone has given you that courage to move forward and deliver to your best. And therefore, I think it is our duty to pay it forward, to create opportunity for others, to give trust, to empower, and spread those moments of overwhelming joy to as many people as possible. And this evening, I am indeed indebted to the Council for having invited me here, and it has been a privilege and an honor, and I wish you all as many moments of joy as you can extract throughout the future. Thank you.
That certainly was a keynote worthy of the term. And we deeply appreciate how you strove to demystify this rather elusive term, mojo. Now we
are pretty close to nailing it. And if you did have any anxiety and wondered whether it was the cocktails that was going to release the mojo, we might say not necessarily so. On the other hand, we have been able to sort of encapsulate an idea, confidence, freedom, innovation, all of that comes in, and some energy with it. And we hope now that you will be able to feel the pulse and move accordingly as Mudrika's dancers come on with their mojo. Thank you very much. And from my position, I was able to observe the audience, and very much like the Sphinx of Egypt, you moved not a muscle. With the exception of our chief guest, who I noticed felt the pulse and showed it too. Thank you very much again, the Mudrika's dancers. I myself have often wanted to cavort on stage in the manner that they did, but I have been advised that I might do myself some irreparable mischief, and so have refrained. But I like to do it. Now, having said that, let's get back to business. And we do that with Mr. Moiz Remanji, who is the chairman of the National Conference Technical Committee for 2019. And Moiz is going to take us through the nitty-gritty, in a manner of speaking, of what's to follow in the program. So, Moiz.
Thank you, Arun. I can't beat the performance before me, but good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin with what our thinking was about the whole conference theme, Finding Your Mojo. To start off with, this is the 40th anniversary of the National Conference, and given that it's a landmark moment, we decided to come up with something rather unorthodox, Finding Your Mojo. And to get into why we came up with this theme, let me just quickly walk you through the thinking process behind the committee when we conceived this, the term mojo. We asked ourselves, what's the current and the most pressing tribulation that people go through on a day-to-day basis, particularly us, the chartered accountants and the finance heads of the organizations that we are part of. We spoke of the daily rat race that we constantly battle with. The presentations, the reviews, the Excel sheets, the PowerPoints, the monthly performance reviews, the quarterly reporting, etc., etc. And what we figured is this daily routine, this rat race, it literally saps the life, the purpose and the passion out of our work. What are we really here to do in our jobs, in our businesses that we lead? Is it to go through this daily rat race, or is it something beyond that? And the whole lack of passion and purpose that arises as a result of this is why we came up with the term, or rather the theme, Finding Your Mojo, a journey of self-discovery. And what we particularly liked about this whole tagline, Finding Your Mojo, is that it leaves it to your imagination as to what it means, what it stands for. Of course, leaves it to your imagination with a positive connotation. And on that note, I'd like to thank Dr. Hans, who shared with us his own version of imagination, moments of overwhelming joy. And what I particularly liked about that framework is that he also shared a simple practical illustration of how we can apply that in our organizations. We are leadership. We are accountable to the people above us, but we are responsible in bringing the mojo to the teams that we lead. So thank you again, Dr. Hans, for giving that perspective as well to everything that we ourselves conceive. Moving on to what are the segments of Finding Your Mojo that we want to cover in the conference. Essentially what we figured is, when we talk of finding our mojo, especially in the context of the audience and the conference that we are part of, we broke it down into 3 segments. First of all, mojo begins with the self, within, the self mojo, which is about not getting subdued by the daily tribulations and the challenge that we always encounter, but rather reaching down deep within and again looking for that passion and purpose. And when you find that, that's when you find the mojo, the self mojo within. And once we as individuals discover that within us, it doesn't end with that. It transcends beyond the self into all the relationships that we are part of, professional or otherwise. And that's where we go to the next segment of Finding Your Mojo, the mojo within the businesses and the organizations that we are part of, where it's not merely about the daily rat race that I mentioned at the beginning, but it's also about finding the enterprising magic, the little spark in our work, in our job descriptions, which helps us fall back in love again with our jobs. And that's the second segment of the mojo in the overall theme of finding your mojo. And once you've covered these two, the self and the first level of extension, which is the businesses and the professional lives that we're part of, what's next? Which is, of course, the mojo of the nation, the 21 million strong mojo. And in that segment, what we are bringing to the whole conference, to the conversation, is basically talk of this very unique characteristic that this country does enjoy. A history of prosperity, a history of harmony, and a history of good progress, which somehow in the last few decades we have perhaps lost. And at the conference in the next 1.5 days, we will also have sessions which will talk of how we can once again regain our mojo as a nation. So ladies and gentlemen, in the next 1.5 days, the lineup of sessions we have, the speakers and the panelists, will share with us the individual imaginations and the individual perspectives of mojo. But essentially, they will all fall under these three segments: the self, the business, and of course the nation. So ladies and gentlemen, with that, I come to an end to the very brief overview of the theme and what the whole conference is going to be about in the next 1.5 days. And with that, I wish you all a fantastic conference ahead. Thank you.
We have something on screen that you might want to view right now.
In business or in life, we need a spark of magic to help us achieve our objectives. And that magic is what we call mojo. Your mojo is power, your energy, and the force propelling you forward. To achieve that state of being, one must first discover their self-mojo. This is the first step in realizing the mojo of an entire nation. A convergence of individual mojo is what makes a collective mojo. It is in this instance that a nation transforms and strives to reach its greatest potential. When you understand all these factors and stack them up right, your quest beckons and your path is clear. You never need a reason to do the work. It becomes a labor of love. And that is when you know you have found your mojo and you are the driver of your own destiny. Mojo is revolutionary. It's what precipitates a leap from a modest family business to a multi-billion rupee enterprise. To find the mojo in companies, we must reconstruct the oldest and most common economic models of dynamic entrepreneurship with a view to induce positive change. We will identify the nature of positive change only when we step out of our monotonous routines and glean from past experiences. To achieve this, the will to fight off adversity and negativity becomes our most potent weapon. It is this fighting spirit we identify as our mojo. Similarly, in a business culture, achieving growth and sustainability is a confluence of talent, expertise, and most of all, a behavioral change that encourages the best in us. It is a perfectly choreographed tango between youthful exuberance and seasoned experience. It's where the future of mojo lies. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 40th National Conference of the Chartered Accountants.
So that there was the lineup of topics that were presented there and which will hopefully take your interest in the next day and a half. And now there are people who have contributed very generously toward the conduct of this event, such as sponsors. And we would now like to appreciate those that are the sponsors. Again, on screen.
ලොක්කු සයිස් පොඩි ප්‍රයිස්. දැන් අඟල් 55ක්ම රුපියල් 99,999යි. අඟල් 55 සිංගල් ටීවී එකක් වාසිම මිලට වසර 3ක වගකීම සමග ටික ටික ගෙවන්න ගන්න.
The name that's close to your heart.
The name that brings comfort.
The name that is enough.
The name that creates joy.
The name that eases your stress.
The name that excites.
The name that is enough.
The name that brings happiness to your entire family. Singer. With BOC Smart Online Banking, my urgent transactions are securely handled.
Now all my bill payments are right at my fingertips.
I'm in touch with my BOC card whenever, wherever.
Managing my startup fund is just a click away.
BOC Smart Online Banking creates time for the important things in life while your banking is done securely with ease and speed, wherever you may be. Weren't we supposed to go to the bank today?
Brandex, a leader in the Sri Lankan apparel industry, was founded with a vision to be the inspired solution for branded clothing. With an employee base of nearly 60,000 associates, our corporate DNA is based on the premise that inspired people deliver inspired solutions. While our business is important to us, inspiring a change across our communities is equally important. We will continue to develop, manufacture, and market end-to-end apparel solutions to world-renowned brands as One Brandex.
Logic Life, the best health insurance in Sri Lanka.
NSB debit cards from Sri Lanka's safest bank. With the latest EMV chip technology, you can save more, enjoy more. experience more benefits. Visit your nearest NSB branch for more information.
Lanka IOC's strong corporate governance and ethics has made it a force functioning with transparency, integrity and accountability. With Sri Lanka propelling itself on the road to development and prosperity, Lanka IOC has a major role as an integrated energy company playing a national role in oil security. Our resilience and foresight will help improve the Sri Lankan lives and foster change in the transport industry of today and tomorrow. Lanka IOC, bringing energy to life.
මටත් මාසකට කලින් තත්කැක්කුම් වගේම විදුරු මසෙන් ලේ ගැලීමක් තිබුණා.
මේ මාසකට කලින් මේ දැන්
මේකට ඇත්ත හේතුව ඔබ දන්නවද?
මුඛ රෝග වලට ඇත්ත හේතුව තමයි නරක බැක්ටීරියා. මුඛ රෝග නැති කරන්න නම් නරක බැක්ටීරියා නැති කරන්නම වෙනවා. මේක සාමාන්‍ය ටූත්පේස්ට් එකකින් කරන්න බෑ.
නරක බැක්ටීරියා නැති කරන බව සායනිකව තහවුරු කළ එකම ටූත්පේස්ට් එක ලින්ක් සුදන්ත විතරයි.
මං වගේ ලින්ක් සුදන්ත වලින් මැද්දුත් මෙලියම් බැඳෙන්නෙත් නෑ. විදුරු මස් රෝගත් නෑ. තත් දිරහැන්නෙත් නෑ. ලින්ක් සුදන්ත.
නරක බැක්ටීරියා නැති කරන්න.
දැනගෙන මදින්න.
We begin each day with a promising smile that delights you, with unceasing patience to listen to every voice of your heart, with the purpose of being your unfailing companion of strength, with the longing to share every moment of your life, with the pleasure to witness your success and prosperity. People's Bank, the bank of the people.
Capable people with unparalleled experience providing extraordinary healthcare. This is our ethos here at Lanka Hospitals. Welcome to a warm ambience of confidence. Welcome to the ultimate health and wellness journey in Sri Lanka. Lanka Hospitals. Caring, curing.
There's never a dull moment on Sundays for families who spend time with the Sunday Times, Sri Lanka's favorite English family weekly. With unbiased news, expert financial reviews, top-flight career openings, and informative entertaining features for all ages. Reserve your Sundays for the Sunday Times.
Thank you very much for your attention, and certainly our thanks are due many sponsors, which now brings us to the Diamond Jubilee. So this is notable for obvious reasons, and you were able to appreciate what the passage of time has brought and established. And we also have the camp post office being set up. Why? For the obvious reason of the launch and the release of a special stamp which signifies this milestone event. And of course, as we have already indicated, this is a twofer. It's the Diamond Jubilee and also the 40th anniversary, we might say, of this sort of event, the annual business conference. So marking these twin milestones, we now have the stamp. So I'd like to invite on stage the Postmaster General, Mr. Ranjit Aryaratna, and the Deputy Postmaster General Operations, Mr. Rajita Ranasinghe, to be joined by the Director of the Philatelic Bureau, Mr. Shantakumara Nigama, to officiate at this moment. And once they are set up and ready, then we shall invite Mr. Jagat Pereira, President, Mr. Manil Jayasinghe, Vice President, to accompany our chief guest as well as our keynote speaker to the stage and proceed with handing them the first copies of this special postal cover. And then we would like to invite Mr. Dulita Pereira, Chairman, National Conference Committee, Mr. Moiz Remanji, Chairman, National Conference Technical Committee, then Dulani Fernando, the Chief Executive Officer of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, and Secretary, Mr. Prasanna Lianage, also up on the stage. So, shall we proceed now with the formality of cancelling the stamp and preparing the first day cover for release. So I believe that there is a certain protocol here. The first day cover and the stamp cancel will be handed to Mr. Jagat Pereira by the Postmaster General, and Mr. Pereira in turn will ceremonially have the handover of the first day and stamp cover to Fiona Wilkinson, President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, and thereafter to Dr. Hans Vijaysurya, our keynote speaker. And then after that, I guess the Postmaster General will then hand over to Mr. Jagat Pereira, because he also needs to have one. Okay. The photographers have a crucial role to play here. This has got to get in the papers, you know. Has the President got his copy? Well, he's getting it, is he? Thank you very much. So our camp post office will now be furled, and we shall proceed with the remainder of our special evening's inaugural of the annual conference. As has already been mentioned, our chief guest has travelled from the United Kingdom and serves as the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. And it was in June of this year that she was appointed into the role, and will continue until June of next year. And interestingly, Fiona is an ambassador for diversity and inclusion in the profession, words that we have already heard from the mouths of our previous presenters here at this lectern, and spreads the message that accountancy is an inclusive profession which is open to all, no matter what the background. And interestingly too, quality in auditing and financial reporting is at the heart of what she does daily. And she's certainly keen to restore trust and ensure that quality is maintained through continuous improvement. That being an aspect of what our chief guest is involved with and is keen about. And she has served in London and Jersey with Deloitte. Then she's also set up her own practice, working as a technical consultant to firms, advising them on auditing, financial reporting, and practice assurance. And she's also served a while in Europe and Canada, and we would like to invite her now to the lectern for her speech as our chief guest, Ms. Fiona Wilkinson.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. What a fabulous start we've had to this conference this evening. I thought Dr. Hans was going to be quite hard to follow. Then we had the dance troupe doing Uptown Funk, which definitely gave me my mojo back. And then we had a first day cover with wonderful stamps. Very, very hard act to follow. But I just have to say I feel incredibly privileged and humbled to be invited here as your chief guest. To me, it's just such a pleasure to return to Sri Lanka. I have been here twice before on holiday, 4 years ago, and again 2 years ago. So to come here on business, as it were, is just an enormous pleasure for me. I was hoping to come in May, but due to events was unable to, but recorded a video for the Techno Fair that the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Sri Lanka put on. So for me, it's much nicer to be here today in person rather than on a video. The ICAEW and the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, we've been working together for many years, and we share our knowledge and our insight, and we jointly provide support to our members and also to the wider financial profession. We have previously signed a memorandum of understanding to set the path for members of our institutes towards even greater collaboration in the future. And we both recognise the importance of acting as a global connected community. The members of both our institutes strengthen the global economy by strengthening national economies and national accountancy professions. And both of our organisations are members of chartered accountants worldwide. So we work together with other leading institutes from around the world to support, develop and promote the vital role that chartered accountants play. Events such as this help to highlight that vital role and to bring collaboration with others. Tonight's inauguration, as you know, marks the start of what has become Sri Lanka's largest annual business summit, something to be incredibly proud of, I think. And the next 2 days are going to be one of inspiration, passion and positivity. I think that the theme of finding your mojo is a great one, isn't it? It's just slightly different and something interesting and inspirational. I think in a fast-moving and unpredictable world, it's very easy to become overwhelmed. Dulitha spoke about the challenges that are facing Sri Lanka. I come from a country, the United Kingdom, as you'll all be aware, that has its own very significant challenges at the moment with the B word. Both Jagath and Hans spoke about digital technology and the way it's changing the world. Undoubtedly, this is going to, in many ways, improve our professions, but during this transition phase, it is a very volatile time, I think, for all of us. So how do we overcome these challenges? We need to harness our inner strength, drive and focus to be the best we can be and to perform to the highest level possible, to find that inner magic that gives us our mojo. And as Hans has said, this applies on a personal level as well as on a business level. It applies to companies of every size, and it applies to nations and to national economies. We need to find our mojos to help to create a positive and aspiring nation. At the ICAEW and at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, personal development is a key part of our qualifications. We learn skills such as teamwork, communication, ethics, technical competence, and decision-making. And these are attributes which are essential to become members of both our institutes. If we can get these right, we can create a better working environment for everyone, and that will help to deliver better results for us all. So I hope you enjoy the technical sessions at this conference, which are going to examine mojo in every sense of the word and at various levels, how we define it, why it's important, how we can find it, how we can harness its potential. And it plays an important role in building the skills, knowledge and high professional standards for the future, which is a key priority for both our institutes. So I would just say to you, please take advantage of all of the sessions over the next 2 days. I really hope you find the conference productive and thoughtful and useful in driving forward your careers and your businesses, and I'm absolutely sure that you will. And together we can harness our full potential, build that trust and confidence in our profession, which is so essential at the moment, and help to build strong and sustainable economies. So thank you for listening, and I really hope you really enjoy the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you too, Ms. Wilkinson. And now we would like to invite up on stage, once again, Mr. Jagat Pereira, President, Vice President, Mr. Manil Jayasinghe, Dulitha Pereira, Chairman, National Conference Committee for this year, Moise Remanji, who, as you know, serves as the Chairman of the National Conference Technical Committee, Dulani Fernando, the Chief Executive Officer of ICASL, and Secretary, Mr. Prasanna Lianage. And we shall prevail upon them to serve as presenters of tokens of appreciation. One to our chief guest, Fiona Wilkinson. For having graced this occasion and been a part of it. And indeed also to Dr. Hans Vijayasuriya, our keynote speaker, and the current head of the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much, and we'll invite everyone back to their places, with the exception of Mr. Manil Jayasinghe, who, in his role as Vice President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, has a word or two in conclusion at the formal part of our inaugural.
The chief guest, Ms. Fiona Wilkinson, keynote speaker, Dr. Hans Vijayasuriya, Mr. Jagat Perera, President and members of Council, Mr. Dulita Pereira, Mr. Moise Remanji, members of the two committees, past presidents, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. As we now come to the conclusion of today's formal proceedings, it is my privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of CA Sri Lanka. This decade, I think as many of the speakers mentioned, has been formidable yet exhilarating for all of us. For finance professionals in particular, the past several years has become even more challenging owing to the constant complexities stemming from technology to enhanced regulations. Therefore, I think it's only human for us to undergo a period in our lives where even a short time we end up with our spirits stifled and our internal magic, known as mojo, gone off course. So it's time to build this up now. But as everyone in life, this is only temporary phase, and rediscovering our mojo along with our passion and purpose is important if you are to succeed as a professional and continue to be fundamental success factor to your company and to the country. Therefore, over the next 2 days, as you saw, there is an impressive lineup of speakers, panelists, and moderators to help you revitalize your confidence and refuel your professional journey so that you can each reach the Everest within you. Without taking too much of your time, I'm sure you're waiting to go and enjoy the cocktails. First of all, let me thank our chief guest, Ms. Fiona Wilkins, for traveling all the way from UK just for this event, and she's going back tomorrow morning. We are very grateful to you for coming and gracing this occasion. To our keynote speaker, Dr. Hans Vijayasuriya, for setting the tone of the conference with a very inspiring and motivational speech rediscovering our journey. He mentioned about moments of overwhelming joy and effective leadership and generating that inner mojo. I would also like to extend my appreciation to the speakers and panelists who will steer the next 2 days, actually next 1.5 days of technical sessions. We appreciate your commitment in helping to make this conference a mega success in our 40th year of this conference. This evening we also witnessed the launch of the special commemorative first day stamp, which signifies that CA Sri Lanka's Diamond Jubilee and the National Conference's 40th anniversary. Therefore, on behalf of CA, I extend my appreciation to the Secretary of the Ministry of Posts, Ms. S.M. Mohammed, Postmaster General, Mr. Ranjit Ariratna, Deputy Postmaster General Operations, Mr. Rajitha Ranasinghe, Deputy Postmaster General Western Province, Ms. W.K.S. Sisira Kumara, and the Director of the Philatelic Bureau, Mr. Shanta Kumara Migama. I also thank the President of CA, Mr. Jagat Pereira, and the members of Council for the guidance given in organizing this flagship event. My sincere appreciation also goes to the past presidents and distinguished invitees. Of course, an event like this takes a lot of planning, months of hard work. So therefore, it will be amiss not to recognize that effort of the National Conference Committee led by Mr. Durita Pereira and the National Conference Technical Committee led by Mr. Moise Remanji. I also take this opportunity to thank the staff of CA led by Ms. Dulani Fernando and Mr. Prasanna Lienege, the Secretary. In an event like this, of this magnitude, cannot be organized or successful without the support of our sponsors. Therefore, I acknowledge with gratitude our sponsors, Platinum sponsors, Cargill Ceylon Limited, Haley's PLC, and John Keel's Holdings PLC. Gold sponsors, Bank of Ceylon, Brandix Apparels, Siam City Cement, and Singer Sri Lanka. And bronze sponsors, SoftLogic Life, STB Bank, National Savings Bank, MAS Holdings, Lanka IOC, Link Natural Products, Capital Alliance, People's Bank, Healthcare Partner Lanka Hospitals, and the print media partners Daily FT, Daily Mirror, and Sunday Times, as well as to Water's Edge for all the arrangements, and Galadari Hotel where we are having a live feed for people who are unable to join us here, and our advertising and event managers, Densu. So finally, ladies and gentlemen, I'm certain this year's conference will inspire all of us to break away from the monotony, to rediscover our passion and purpose, which will ultimately reflect in our professional success as well as our companies and country. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
So with that, we have concluded the formality of our inaugural. And now it's, as was mentioned, like a party time. However, there are a couple of things that we would like to have you note, that there are far too many chairs here. So you need to stand up, move aside, and our friends from Water's Edge will magically shift the chairs. And then you'll have plenty of space to move around and maybe even feel the pulse as you discover your mojo. We have the band Glory set up to create the right ambience and to have you perhaps tap your toes or snap your fingers. If you're jugglers, you can even have a plate of eatables while you snap your fingers. Yes, so that's what we need to say, that the food and refreshment is all set and ready for you to partake.
and our cocktails are on. The music will be there. As I said, just allow our friends to clear the chairs and then you'll have more space very soon. And remember too, back to business, 8:30 tomorrow. So don't party too long. 8:30 tomorrow. Some of you will reassemble here. Others have selected to be in attendance at the Galadari Hotel, where a live feed will be broadcast or connected to that venue. And so in that way, this vast number that has registered to be part of this 40th annual conference can be accommodated. Can't be in one place now. Not enough room. So 2 places. I'll leave that with you. Enjoy.
Deliver
chant, surprise the face, tells about the people going under. After 70 years, that's what he goes there for, is to unlock the door. Well, those around him criticize and sleep. And through a fractal on a breaking wall, I see you, my friend, and touch your face again. Miracles will happen as we tread. We're never gonna survive unless we get a little crazy. No, we're never gonna survive unless we are a little. The yellow people walking through my head. One of them's got a gun to shoot the other one. And yet together they were friends at school. If I were there when we first took the pill, then be bad, be bad, be bad, be bad. Miracles will happen as we speak. But we're never gonna survive unless we get a little crazy. No, we're never gonna survive unless we are a little. No, we're never gonna survive unless we are a little. No, no, we'll never survive unless we get a little bit. In a sky full of people, only some want to fly. Isn't that crazy? In a world full of people, only some want to fly. Isn't that crazy?